Welcome to the next episode of CNMI Speaks Out. CNMI Speaks Out is about domestic violence and CNMI culture. With this podcast, we will hear stories of brave women who overcame domestic violence and know more about their cultural upbringing. I'm your host, Jenn Taman, and today we have the privilege of hearing our guest's story. However, for safety and confidentiality purposes, our guest identity will remain anonymous. So, guests, welcome and thank you so much for being here and sharing with us your story. Can you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, when did your relationship started? How will you describe your relationship?
I was still young when it all happened. I was in my mid-20s or something. Everything was so good. This guy was like really after me. I met him at a friend's party, and we started talking. I ended up giving him my number. He was so persistent with me, always checking up on me, messaging me if I ate already, messaging me good morning, good night, always wanting to be on the phone if we can't hang out, and or like sometimes he would like show up at my workplace with food, snacks, flowers, and chocolate. And, like everybody was like so envious of him, like envious of me, and um he really got along with my family. Like when we weren't living together yet, he will come around my parents' house and just help around the house. And he got approval of my dad, of course, and my mom adored him. And like he got along with my sister, and he got along with my sister's partners and my brothers, and he just perfectly fit in my family. I was really in love with him because I get to have what I asked for. If I ask him something, like he would always be done. But man, he looks so like he's so gentle around me, and like I thought I could spend the rest of my life with this person, and but I was wrong, like I was wrong. But boy, was I wrong. All along, this guy was a monster in disguise, and like showed me the true color, and like he showed his true color behind closed door, huh? Like, man, the things he did to me, like he would slap me if the food cooked, not cooked the way he likes it. Like one time he slapped me so hard that my ears were like ringing because I accidentally burned what I was cooking.
Truly sorry that you went through that. Sorry that you went through that type of agony.
Oh, it's okay, girl.
When or how did you come to realize or to the realization that you were in a domestic violent relationship?
Ooh, I realized I was in a relationship when I started to notice that not a week goes by that he doesn't lay his hands on me. Man, I tell you, girl, like I have bruises after bruises, and sometimes I don't even remember where the bruise came from. But man, this guy was smart, huh? He would only hit me and slap me on my upper arm, on my like on my thigh, like over here, on my legs, where it does not show. Especially because like he doesn't like allow me to like wear anything else but jeans outside. So he would never touch my face. Like I remember him like saying like, "Your face is too pretty to damage."
Well, you're beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Um, that must have been a lot for you. My heart goes out, and I know how it feels like not being able to like go out there and like wear what you want to wear, right? Because like I know like it's just clothing, but sometimes that's how you express your creativity or your mood or like just your personality is through clothing, right? So that man, I know what you feel, girl. I went through that, so you weren't like I know exactly what you're saying.
Oh yeah, like there's so many many times I just want to scream on the top of my lungs. I was really getting to, like was really getting to me. The secret of like the secret of being hit all the time was weighing down on me, and it's like, oh, like,
I feel you. I was there once, not being able to tell anyone what was happening. It was just such a heavy burden to carry. But I get you. Can you like explain or describe what do you think led up to this? What led up to it? What led up for him to start laying his hands on you?
I don't know. Man, I don't. What led him to that? All I know is that the first time he hit me was when I wanted to go out with my cousins. We were having a good drink out with a my girl's cousin or whatever. He wouldn't let me go. He wanted to like come along. I'm telling him it was just girls. Like it would just be awkward for him to be there, and it was just my girl's cousins. We're just gonna drink at my girl's cousin's house. He kept insisting that he was gonna follow me, but I was like, no, no, no. That it turned into it became an argument, and boom, like, ooh, he just slapped me across the face. I'm like,
Oh no.
yeah, and he just kept going at me like nobody's business. So I didn't make it to my cousin's drink out. Of course, I was like all beaten up. I couldn't show up to my cousin's house. And then after the night, he would always hit me whenever he feels like it or what. I don't like it just happens after that. I think that was like when the turning point is when like he hit me then. Like he just probably thought that like, he could keep hitting me because I'm gonna keep it as a secret.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you mean. After realizing that you were in a controlling or violent relationship, did you reach out for help or talk to anyone about it?
No, I mean how could I? How could I? Everyone in my family loves him. Okay, no at first. I told myself, nee, like I was like, if I just did what he wanted and expects of me, like then he won't hurt me, and no one has to know.
Right. Right, right, right.
So that it will go on, like it will go away soon. I mean, I've seen my older relatives go through the same thing. My aunts, like crying to my mom about my uncle laying his hands on her, whatever, and coming to our house with black eye and whatever. And when I was young, still like before when I was young, but still but they still stayed with my uncle, and you know, and they still came to the parties and whatever. Like everything is okay, so I figure like it will go away too. Like a part of me is like, oh, I found the perfect guy. Like he just has this flaw of hitting me, but it'll go away.
Right, right, right. So like a part of you would say that like a part of you has that hope, right? Because like I feel like I could relate to you in somehow. I could relate. Like it's so relatable because even me, I'm like, I'm pretty sure not only myself felt that way, but a lot of other girls felt that way, or a lot of victims, or a lot of people that experience this is that you always have that hope because you didn't like nobody falls in love with someone that would just like hurt them. Like nobody falls in love with someone that's like that. Like there's always that hope, and I get what you mean. It must have been so tough to like, okay, I love this person, but this person is wrong, and this person is hurting me. But I also want to keep it a secret because I feel like like it's like you're being like I feel like I'm gonna keep this a secret because I feel like it's gonna change. Like you're being torn into like into two.
Yeah, totally. That's how I felt. Yeah, that's how I felt. Like, it's like I loved him. I loved him so much. I was like, I wanted to be his wife and like have kids with him and everything.
Right, right. You build your dreams around this person because that you fell in love with them. Can I ask you like how long were you with this like can I ask you about how long were you with this person?
But like 5 years or so.
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years is long.
Yeah, totally. It felt like a lifetime.
So, also 5 years. So it's safe to say, right? Like you have, because of your hope that he will change, you did not reach out to family and friends. And
Yeah, that was it.
so, what were the factors that made you leave that relationship?
Well, I stayed longer, like I mentioned. I thought just like being an obedient, like being a obedient girlfriend, doing what I was told was gonna like change things between us.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Like things will go back to normal.
Yeah, yeah. And also if my auntie stayed with my uncles like for so long, why not me? I mean, I've seen her come like to my parents more than with black hair with more than once. And so I thought that I could just suck it up like my aunt, like, suck it up and things will be okay. What made me leave was it was around Christmas actually. I had some relatives coming from the mainland, and we wanted to hang out and do this and do that, but this guy wouldn't let me go. I really wanted to see my first cousin because who I haven't seen in years, and I was like really close to him. So when I was begging to let me go, but instead he turned around and kicked me and locked me in the inside the room for the day. He bought me a bucket or something for me to like use the restroom. Man, I felt like I was like an animal, like lower than an animal. I wasn't even allowed to use my cousin, like to see my own cousins. Like, I get like just because you didn't want to go, like he didn't want to go. I wanted to go because they were like, I haven't seen this cousin. And he's like totally accusing me of like, oh, I get it. Like, he was accusing me of cheating and all those things. I'm like, no, I want to see my cousin. Like, what's wrong? Like, I want to see him. So, like, I was arguing. I was like so arguing because I really wanted to see my cousin, and he just like turned around and kicked me, and I'm like, I was in so much pain. Like he kicked me right here, and I'm like so much pain, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm locked up. Like I was totally locked up in the room. Took my phone away, and like he just texted my family that day that he's like, oh, she's not feeling well, so we're gonna stay home today. Like that was my breaking point. Like I'm like, I can't live like this. Like I can't not have this. Like it's bad enough that I go to work, I come home. That's all I do. All I wanted to do was see my family, and I can't even do that. So, and that just broke my like. I was like, man, that's it. Like I can't like, I just I can't be with someone that was just like I can't be with someone that won't even allow me to see someone special to me, Like he's my cousin and like I won't see it because he's a guy and he's just like so paranoid and I'm like I don't even go out or anything. Like I don't hang out with my cousin. I don't used to do what I used to do before. Um and like for me to be locked up in a room, like I wasn't like on the bucket, like seriously? Like you always tell me you love me, but this is how you treat someone that you love? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's unbelievable. And no, it's so hard to talk about it. It's because like you also have to come like when you talk about it, you kind of like to realize that wow, the person you were in love with kind of did that to you, and like sometimes like like
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I understand. You know, I know that it's hard to say, like to talk about it sometimes, But if you want to stop, you don't have to tell us the whole story. It's your story. This is your show. Like, this is all about you. And I just want you to know that you're so brave, and that for sticking up for yourself, and knowing what is right, and knowing that also walking out from a relationship where you know yourself that you had your own boundaries, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's okay. Like, it's just that, like, no one ever treated me like, how can someone treat someone, how can another human being treat another person that way, you know? Especially when they say they love that person and want them to be their wife and all this. It's just. So, anyway, the next day, my cousin came. He came to my house because, you know, he was like, he really wanted to see me. You know, we were really close when we were young. Like, we practically grew up together. So, he came, and then um my partner, like, you know, there was no, like, he needed to go to the store for some reason, like, 'cause they were like we were out of beer. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna go to the store, like, while my male cousin is there. um so I just told my cousin, I was like, you know, you need to help me out. Like, this guy's like, I'm living with a monster. So so while he was at the store or something, like, I just took a bag of clothes and I left, and I'd never like turned, like, I've never looked back.
Right, good for you, good for you.
Things like, I'm over it already. Like, I think I'm healed already and all these things, but it's just like, it's so hard to talk about sometimes when you come to the realization, or you come, like, you have to talk about sometimes, because you knew that you love this person and you suffered for this person, and then in the end this person just turned his back on you and just hurt you so many times.
Yeah, yeah, there's like the sense of betrayal in there. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And again, I'm sorry, and I admire your bravery. I'm sorry for what happened to you, but I also admire your bravery, like your courage for like saying I need help. I think that was the first important step, was for you to say like I need help. And I can't even imagine how much you must be feeling when you left that house.
Man, I was like, it was so much adrenaline, and I was also scared, but at the same time, like I said, I was like heartbroken. But like, there's a sense, like, of freedom. Like, I felt free for the first time for a while in my life. Like, I felt like, whew, I'm free.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, the sense of relief.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, I knew that I was free from this monster.
Right, right. Thank goodness that your cousin came and, you know, became your savior. Maybe if you didn't, right? Who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, I'm totally like, he's my savior. Like, I'll probably be locked up in the room for a while if he didn't come, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, even myself, I was stuck with I was stuck at a certain situation. And up to this day, I'm still grateful to my two friends who stuck their neck out for me and took me and my dogs out. And I will always be grateful for them till my like the end of my days. You know what I mean? Like, probably it's like a simple act of kindness, right, for them, but they don't know that they saved my life. And I would always tell, like, you know, everyone that these two people, like, they saved my life. I wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for both of them. And yeah, it's yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, they're awesome people. And up to this day, you know, I'm still thankful to God that He sent those two friends of mine my way, who saved me. They really did save me. So, Did anything prevented you from reaching out for help or accepting that you were in a controlling or violent relationship?
Just the fact that my family like really loves and adore him, it's just harder. Like it just makes it harder for me to reach out for help. And also like a part of me just like kind of kept it a secret, you know? Yeah. Like it's hard for me to keep it a secret, like something I didn't want because I was so hopeful that he's gonna change. Because like every time I try to leave, like he would always promise that he's gonna change, and it's just like I can't even tell you how many times I tried. Like every time he hit me, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna leave this guy, and then he's gonna apologize," and I'm just like stuck again. I'm just back again, and
Like, yeah, I get it. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just not you. And it's just like I've experienced that too. Like, I've tried to leave so many times, but I couldn't. And it's just part of being in that type of relationship where you become dependent, emotionally dependent in some sort to that person. And yeah, I understand what you're saying.
yeah, like I couldn't leave, and it took me a while. Like the only time I finally left was when what he did to me, with the bucket and all. Yeah,
So when you left that relationship, how did your family and friends reacted? What were their response?
man. When I told my family, they were furious. They were furious. They needed to go. He tried to go to my dad's house and ask for me, but brothers chased him out we chased him out and everything. And I think he knew that they finally know what happened and what he was doing to me. My dad like literally like had a baseball bat with him and told him to get out of his property. They were very supportive and wanted me to go to police and get to go to the police and get a restraining order on him and have him arrested. But honestly, I just wanted to get as far as I could away from him. And for so the next 2 days or 3 days, just left. I flew to Guam to be with my relatives there, and then to mainland and just got away. And I've never heard from him, and yeah.
Wow, so I'm glad that you had that family support. Family and friend support is really important when you're going through something this hard. It's like,
Yeah, I'm totally, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm so fortunate to have my families around me and, my friend. Well, I didn't have friends that, my old friends, they're shocked because it was like I said, it was always so nice around people, but they don't really know. But my family, they're a full on support.
yeah, yeah, that's great. Do you believe that your culture or your upbringing contributed to your response to domestic violence? And why is that? If you could just explain.
Yeah, I think it was, well, I think it was because, growing up, I see my aunt with, bruises on her back eye that, I thought it was, okay. Maybe if I had a better role model, not being exposed to that, then I would be like, oh, this doesn't happen normally. Then maybe I wouldn't stay in that relationship longer. And and the fact that and growing up thinking that you have to find someone that your family loves and agrees with plays a really big factor in me being with him. That's what I loved about him the most, that my family like him. And I mean that's why I decided to be with him in the first place.
Yeah, I think like someone bring someone that your family love as well. It's like we try so hard, like when we like from like I hear stories and I feel like one of the factors that we try so hard for our families and friends to see this version of this person, but in reality, like behind closed doors, he's someone else. And I get it, I get it. So, what advice do you wish you could have given yourself before the violence started?
Um, I've told my, advice like for myself, like don't get impressed with material things. Um, sometimes that's how they manipulate you, is just to impress you with the material things that you have or that you don't have and lure you in, and then, like get to know someone before you before you start settling in. And also, like, don't be in a rush to be in a relationship, and like just love yourself first. Always like consider yourself first before anyone else.
And what advice do you wish you could have given others out there, other survivors, victims, or individuals that are still in a domestic relationship?
Well, my advice will be strong. Be strong for yourself and fight for yourself. And like if you grow up like me, like seeing your aunt with black eyes or whatnot, that doesn't mean that that's normal, and it doesn't mean that you should experience that yourself. If something bad happens to you, if like your partner hits you once, he's gonna hit you again and again. And don't allow someone to hit you, and don't when something's happening to you, like don't keep it behind closed door. Like say something to someone or report him, or because otherwise it's just gonna get worse and worse. And yeah, like love yourself and know that you're so worth everything, like every fight, you're so worth it. And like love yourself and know that you're worth fighting for yourself. Like fight for yourself, for your rights. And you know just say something to somebody and reach out. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, and there's absolutely like nothing to be ashamed of. Like, I really wish I did that, but anyways, I'm here now, so yeah, like just love yourself because that's the most important thing. Because like once you love yourself, like no one else, you won't allow anyone else to come and hurt you. You know.
Yeah, well said. Thank you so much for that. So, what do you wish the CNMI community understood about domestic violence?
I wish they understood that it's not like it shouldn't be normalized. Like people need to come out and talk about it more. Domestic violence happens everywhere, and it's like there should be more awareness about it. And all and I know there are like other like yourself and other organizations out there that are really trying their best or really trying to spread awareness, and I'm really so appreciative of it. And the people need to start like just yeah, basically like people need to just start talking about domestic violence and what's going on with them. And the more like we talk about it, the more that people will like find the courage or find the courage to say something or speak up.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
No, thank you for allowing me to do this. It was fun.
I'm glad you had fun, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. You're such an amazing, brave, awesome person, and it's such a privilege that you are able to share your story with me and in my podcast, and I really appreciate it. And I just want you to know that you're such an admirable person, and I'm so inspired by you, by your courage and your strength, and just the way just you as a person now, it's so inspiring. And I'm pretty sure that people out there that hears your story, I'm sure that they will be inspired by you too.
Oh, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Thank you for allowing me to do this, Jan. And just like, thank you for like being someone I could talk to. This is so amazing. It's such a great experience.
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way. Well, that's the end of this episode of CNMI Speaks Out, a podcast about domestic violence and CNMI culture. For our listeners out there, I hope you all enjoy today's episode, and I hope that you find courage, inspiration through our guest's story. Thank you for tuning in with us. Please come back again next week as we talk more about domestic violence and CNMI culture. Lastly, if you are experiencing domestic violence or know someone who might be experiencing domestic violence, please call 911 or a victim hotline 670-234-5100. Thank you and see you all next week. The CNMI Speaks Out has been made possible in part by a major grant from the Northern Marianas Humanities Council and the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, finding, conclusion, or recommendation expressed in this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the Northern Marianas Humanities Council or the National Endowment for the Humanities.